obviously the new thing that Zoom advises us that we are now being recorded, because obviously everyone needs to be aware that it's no longer a secret. So anyway, so welcome to the Marketing Lifeline's Friendly Friday, in conversation with like-minded people who like to share and share alike. And today we are joined by Mr. Kyle Myburgh. I don't know, can you maybe just pronounce your surname for me correctly?
Yeah, sure, Megan. So you pronounce it Myburgh, but listen, it's a tough one to pronounce. Most people get it wrong, so I will settle with anything beginning with M. I'll work with that.
Okay, so because I'm down in South Africa and the Afrikaans is strong, we'd probably pronounce it Myburgh.
Let's roll with that then.
Great. So we've joined by Kyle today from Confidence by Design. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about how presentation skills can help us and win some customers over. So just thanks so much again for joining us all the way from Scotland. And I look forward to sharing with you today.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Really looking forward to it. Let's get into some of the questions and give some value.
Perfect. So before I carry on, I just want to give your rather nice short bio of your history, because I think that gives presence to why today's topic is actually so intuitive for you and also us. In 2018, Kyle founded Confidence by Design, an industry-leading presentation skills company that has helped people from all walks of life to transform their public speaking abilities, from global corporations to ambitious entrepreneurs. His passion, hard work, and talent has also led him to win multiple public speaking accolades, both in Scotland and on international level. Not only that, but Kyle is now a successful author. His debut title, The 5 Pillars of Effective Public Speaking, has received 5-star reviews from readers around the globe, who have also discovered how to harness their public speaking potential to achieve tangible results. But all the success is only the beginning. His next big goal is to become the world champion of public speaking. But most importantly, he wants to continue inspiring people like us to develop public speaking confidence and to win over presentations like never before. Sounds awesome. Well done.
And it sounds even better in your accent, I have to say.
Good. So let's go straight into it. So tell us a little bit about, how did you find public speaking, or as I like to say, how did it find you?
Yeah, good question. So for me, my journey with public speaking started about 4 or 5 years ago. I was a student at the time. I was studying psychology, but I knew I didn't want to do psychology. So that was a bit of an issue, especially coming into the final years, because, you start to panic. You wonder, what are you going to do with your life? So I just started trying a bunch of different things, Megan. And one of those things happened to be public speaking. I went along to a speakers club. I don't know if you're familiar with those types of places, Megan, but it's basically people meet up and they practice public speaking together outside of their work. And what they do is they do a lot of impromptu speaking. So they'll ask you a question off the cuff, completely out of the blue. You don't know what it is, you don't know what's coming, but you have to immediately answer that question in a 2-minute speech in front of a room of people you do not know. Yeah. And then my first ever question was, Kyle, have you ever thought about what would happen if a zombie apocalypse hit Glasgow? If so, where would you go? And I was thinking to myself, what the F is this? I couldn't believe it. But I found myself up there staring at all these people staring back at me. And I came out with 2 words, Megan. The pub. And that's what I said. And then I sat back down, and that was my first ever experience of public speaking. So that's where it all began for me, with 2 words.
Wow. Okay. I think, well, that was probably what I would have said, or probably just sat back down. So, okay. So you weren't actually, in the initial beginning, you weren't one of those that kind of said, I can do this and I'm going to wing it. You really have started from the bottom and literally also hit a hard wall before you've got to the top. So
yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, good way to put it. Good way to put it. I hit a wall to begin with, and when I sat back down, I realized, look, I've got a decision to make here. I can run away from this. I can hide from this for the rest of my life, because public speaking will find you whether you like it or not. Or I can go towards it and try to get better. I try to understand this fear and overcome it and become confident in the process. And I'm so glad I chose that second option, because it's probably the best decision I've made in my life, in all honesty.
Definitely. So tell us a bit about then confidence by design, and what do you do and how do you help businesses?
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
people, I mean, essentially people who obviously grow businesses, but yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So about, I would say 2-3 years after that incident, I gained a lot of experience. I gained a lot of accolades. I started working with people before I even started a business. So I thought, you know what, when I graduate, I should try and do this. I should try and be a public speaking coach and help others overcome the fear, because it was helping my confidence so much. I wanted it to do the same for other people too. So the name Confidence by Design, the reason being, yes, I do public speaking training. I help people speak better, but what I'm really doing is I'm helping them build their confidence. Because when you can speak in front of 100 people with no problem, going to a networking event isn't that bad. Having a difficult conversation isn't that bad. Any other form of communication becomes easier because you've nailed the hardest form, which is public speaking. So that's why Confidence by Design, that's why it has that name. And now I just help people through, team training, one-to-one training, and also I have a membership group where people can learn with others who are looking to progress in their speaking too.
That's amazing. I think we could have a whole discussion about why is public speaking so difficult for people. But anyway, in this world, in the world that we're in now, in this present crisis, I mean, one goes, okay, well, are presentation or public speaking skills still relevant and applicable in building a business and confidence? So share a little bit with us about that, and if it still is, if we're having conversations via Zoom, etc.
Sure. Well, we still are doing a form of public speaking. We just have to change the terminology. Virtual speaking. Now we have to learn how to speak and connect with a camera, because there could be thousands of people on the other side of the lens. And this skill set is very different to in person, but it's one we all have to embrace because the virtual stage is here to stay. And I actually think there's going to be more virtual presentations going forward than in-person ones. So you really need to be switched on about this, how you're using the camera, how you're setting up your environment, how you're coming across. This all needs to be considered now, which has very much opened the door up for me as a business as well, because people are so far behind in this because they never considered it before until about March last year when the wheels started to turn. So it brings more opportunity. It brings more opportunity to learn and develop your skill sets as a speaker as well.
Awesome. Actually, I've hit the nail on the head there, virtual speaking. So it's still, let's be honest, I suppose public speaking is a matter of standing up and presenting in front of, for me, maybe 5+ people would be considered public. But the reality is that it's the same thing. Body language is still very important. Yes, you could be wearing your slippers and have your attire slightly different to what you would in the public space, but absolutely, I think people actually underestimate the power of what we're doing right now in terms of how we present ourselves. So on that point, with presentation skills being so important in this now virtual speaking space, which you've just highlighted, and I love that, can you give us maybe so with presentation skills playing more of a pertinent role in meeting online and all these networks that we go to, what are the top tips that you can give us, ones that kind of building our confidence on this new online space?
Yeah, absolutely. So to cover the basic, first of all, number one is you need to be looking at the lens to make friends with your audience. So many people are looking at their screen or their second monitor or their slippers instead of looking at the lens. And that's a big mistake, because if you're not looking into your audience's eyes, it's hard to build that connection and that trust. Other thing you need to think about is that you need to ensure you don't become a talking head. If I become a talking head like this, and I'm very still, I'm very static on the screen, it becomes more boring. But if I'm more active, if I'm using my body language, if I'm gesturing more, it's more interesting for my virtual audience too. I would also think about content. Presentations which used to take 2 hours, try to bring them down to 1 hour. You have to understand there's so many distractions in people's environments now. They can literally walk away from your presentation and no one will know about it if their camera's off. So try to condense things down further and make it interactive. Get your audience involved, give them a role to play, and then they have to stay in the presentation. So those sort of things are what I would consider to begin with virtual speaking.
Awesome. So just to recap, look at the lens. This is a difficult one for me because I often feel I need to look at the person's face, and you have that slight, but anyway, look at the lens.
A tip there actually to help with that: when you're speaking, you look at the lens. When someone else is speaking, you look at them. So maybe that's something which might help with that. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, absolutely. Don't be a talking head. I love the fact that I can see you standing. I'm comfortably sitting. I think maybe standing also gives you a stance of confidence. Hey, I think so. People shouldn't underestimate that. They don't have to always sit. You know, we can stand.
100%, and it helps you stand out, to use the term, in this virtual space, because everybody is sitting down, and when you do stand, your breathing improves, your posture improves, you have to go to the physio less, everything is better, you know, once you stand up, I believe. But it's hard getting the camera high enough, because that's the other thing. You don't want your camera down here, and then people are looking up at your nose, or they're getting a good view of your ceiling. You know, that's not very helpful. So you need to try and get your camera high enough too. Maybe that's putting some shoe boxes underneath, putting it on a platform. I'm 6'3" and I get it high enough, so I think most people should be able to
do it. And most importantly, tip number 3 is condense your content, get to the point so people are engaged, because as you say, we are completely disorientated by myself, kids, dogs, you know, people at home in your space, you know, cell phones. I mean, I noticed that's also a problem in a lot of meetings. People are still on their cell phones. So keep to the point, get people engaged, and move on. So just lastly, this has been an amazing session. Thank you so much, Kyle. But just to close off, kind of the pertinent question for the day, I guess, is, so why are presentation skills, virtual skills, whatever you want to call it, still a key to winning new customers over?
I think when we present, we have a way to personify, project our message even further than before. I always like to think back to, you know, the networking event scenario. You know, if went back in the day when you went to a networking event in person, you could meet a lot of people going around each one by one. Online, pardon me, you can have a lot of one-to-ones, and you can get to know people in that way. But if you speak in front of 50 people at your networking event, or 50 people in a virtual room, more people are going to know about what you do, what you can offer, and how you can help them than ever could happen you going around individually. So you save yourself massive amount of time, you build your credibility because people see speakers as leaders, and secondly, your message gets even further than before. So those are the key reasons I would say you have to think about your speaking for building your business, because it is a tremendous tool. This is marketing at the end of the day, to bring it back to you, Megan.
Awesome. Thank you, Kyle. And that is so true. I think, you know, we can sit around and ponder what our product or services are and how we're going to package and take it to market. But at the bottom and the end of it, it all comes down to your message. And I think in what you're just saying now, you know, talking through it is just another channel. So whether we're online or we're sending it through an email, talking like this or through a presentation is just another form of communicating your message. So, and I think absolutely, like you say, I feel people buy into you as a person as well. We are brands ourselves. So the stronger and the more confident you are thinking, putting your message across, people probably trust you slightly more than somebody that's not so sure about their delivery and their message.
100%, 100%. It's a way to get to know your potential customer, or your customer to get to know you before you've even had the conversation.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely look forward to reading your book, and hope to be joining you in one of your webinars soon, because yeah, this is definitely a new space for many of us. Although a lot of us have got more accustomed to it, I think there's still room for lots of improvement in this space. So just thanks again for joining us, Kyle, and for sharing with us today, all the way from Scotland. And next week, we're going to be talking about mindset and motivation. So if you enjoyed today's interview, please do give us a comment, say hi, even go ahead and share it with your crew, and then we'll see you again next week, same time, same place, 12 o'clock South African time. And that's it. Just cheers for today. Bye.